what we expect today is the approval of the new deputy president, whom we are yet to be unveiled right now to be informed, and after that is we move on as a country.
Okay. How long do you think, do we expect to see the new nominee come in? After how long?
Just within minutes. Yeah, because we don't expect it's either so and so and it is over. Okay. So it is not a debate about it. Already the person who is sending the name to us, of course, is His Excellency the President. So it is not about trying to look for rocket science or invention of anything.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. That's Mheshimiwa Musa Serma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having seen how things move very fast in this House, let me take this opportunity to congratulate the newly appointed Deputy President.
Order, Order Jalango. He has not been appointed, he has been nominated.
I've just said on how things move very fast here, sir. Let me congratulate him. Let me be the first person to congratulate the newly elected Deputy President. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You can come now.
I have decided that I will not be seeking for any appointive position whatsoever. However, I will remain available to my country in future should an opportunity arise to seek leadership positions that may be available at the national level in the future. That future, I don't know when it will be. But for the moment, I am proceeding on a break. I will support UDA and Kenya Kwanza now and after the election, but I am not available to perform any functions of an appointive nature whatsoever, so that can allow me to live my dream. When I left the academia and when I left my profession some 10 years ago, I knew I would have had an illustrious career as a technocrat and as an appointed official. That was a decision I had made, and I had been pushed by the desire to serve my country and apply my talents from the platform of elective politics.
Kindiki, ndagweta maita athatu na ndakwira ndugetikire kugania ruriri. Uganie ruriri gukorwo ati kwina Mount Kenya East, kwina Mount Kenya South, kwina Mount Kenya North. Oe wega wona kiongo kia mwenzako kianjie kwenjwa ona gia kwikira mai tutego gwetikiria ona ungikorwo gu support ni MP Memonde MP magana ere matigane muingi wa Kenya 50+ million tokorogama na oma to defend o visionde ginyanda ika ya mwiso.
Yesterday was a sad day for this country because His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, who had submitted himself to the jurisdiction of both houses of parliament and never missed a sitting, never was late, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate. And even when he was given the opportunity to sit as his charges were being read to him, he chose to face his accusers on his feet rather than on his knees. And he stood throughout the reading of the 11 charges. The last 2 weeks must have been very stressful for him. And as a human being, there's only so much stress you can take. His doctors have told us here today that when he was admitted here, he had serious chest pains. In fact, he had very high blood pressure. The stress he had gone through, he was short of getting a stroke. But they admitted him, they have managed him overnight. And we thank Dr. Gikonyo and his able team of doctors for the good care.
So let's assume, everything is done, the court processes are complete. And let's assume one scenario first, which would be that the courts uphold the decision by both houses, of the House. Then what? Can he run for office? Can he be appointed as a head of parastatal? Can he be appointed a principal secretary? Or can he come back to cabinet? Can he run for office? Can he go back to Madeira in 2027?
So the Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity of state officers has two very important provisions. One is Article 73 that talks about the standard of holding the leadership office for both the elected and the selected leaders. And the second is Article 75, which talks about some of the things you should not do, conflict of interest. In Article 75, you have subsection 3 that says that a person who's removed from office on the ground of contravening the principles of Chapter 6 on conflict of interest, violation of the Constitution, lack of integrity, cannot assume another state office. And this
for how long?
Is just indefinite.
Okay.
So it is what you call a career death for public sector career death. And it applies to state office, but you see the provisions of Chapter 6 have been applied also to other public officers. And that is why after the last election, when Mike Mbuvi Sonko, whose process of challenging his impeachment had failed all the way to the Supreme Court, when there was a move to have him appointed to a parastatal or something, a government-owned entity, already there were people up in arms saying, how do you appoint someone against Article 75(3? And the president, who it appeared was thinking of giving him a position, retreated. So it is actually a serious career death, and because it is in the Constitution, until the court comes up with a provision that limits the application of this Article 75(3, then it would mean that it is the end for public office. You can engage in private affairs, business, and so on, but that's it for public office. The assumption is that for many public officers or state officers, removal would go through a disciplinary process by their bosses. But for the case of state officers for whom impeachment takes place, there is a finding. There is a finding already by the court that this is the process of removal that would apply.
So just to add, it's the courts, the impeachment process does not talk about this item.
Yeah.
It is the court in its interpretation saying that if you have been impeached, then the court is linking that to Chapter 6 and saying because you have been impeached, then we are holding that you cannot run for office.
Could that be another point of litigation to perhaps get some reinterpretation from the courts should he not succeed all the way to the Supreme Court?
We wish to issue a statement by Mount Kenya and Diaspora Leaders Forum, and we wish to state as follows. Fellow Kenyans, we stand before you as representatives of the people, leaders comprising of Mount Kenya Parliamentary Forum, committed to advancing legislative and development initiatives to the benefit of the people we represent in the region and those in diaspora. We hereby reaffirm our irrevocable faith in the unity and indivisibility of our region and the nation of Kenya. We come to you in tremendous humility to express immense gratitude and admiration to the people of Kenya and of this region for electing us to represent your interests and for electing the Kenya Kwanza administration with President William Ruto as the leader of our country. And we have resolved that we shall be meeting regularly to take stock of the progress and to review achievements and necessary interventions on critical issues that are of concern to the people we represent. We shall further form a coordinating committee to serve as a linkage between us and the executive in the advancement of people-sensitive legislative and development agenda in our region and region's interests in the diaspora. Exactly 1 day short of today, 2 years ago, on the 13th of September 2022, President William Ruto was sworn in as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. His inauguration marks the beginning of a new era, resonating with the hopes and aspirations of many Kenyans who believe in the greatness of our country and the unbreakable bonds that bind the people of this nation together. The hallmark of the 2022 election was a sounding vote of the residents of Mount Kenya for President William Ruto, a first where this region voted almost to a man for a presidential candidate born and raised in another part of the country. We are proud to have contributed to the making of this history. The Kenya Kwanza administration has overseen the country through extremely difficult economic challenges during the past 2 years. President Ruto has steered Kenya off an economic cliff, resulting in reduced cost of essential foodstuffs, household commodities, fuel, and the strengthening of the Kenya shilling against foreign currencies in a difficult post-COVID-19 period. Today, the country is no longer facing the risk of debt distress. With the country's economy assuming a positive trajectory, we expect the next 3 years to be the period when this administration will help our constituents and the rest of the country to revitalize the economy and improve the economic well-being of Kenyans. Unfortunately, our effort to consolidate the development needs of the people we represent and canvass for their realization has been frustrated by the lack of a focal point of reference around whom we can channel the interests and priorities of our people to the government for actualization. Instead, the Mount Kenya region has suffered high-octane politics around the fathom unity to support individual and personal ambition rather than the actualization, pursuit, and lobbying of the interests of the constituents. Our attempts to call the region to the orderly prioritization of the development needs of the people has been frustrated by condescending threats of dire political consequences unless we support certain personal interests and ambitions. Yet, time is of the essence, given that we are already under 3 years to the end of the first term of this administration. As we continue with superiority contests and bickering, the people we represent expect us to aggregate and lobby for prioritization of key projects to ensure the actualization of the promises in our manifesto on the guaranteed minimum returns, GMRs, for our food and cash crops, including coffee, tea, potatoes, macadamia, better prices for milk and poultry products, reduction of the cost of animal feeds, and advancements of our business, commercial, and enterprise interests, and other outstanding manifesto commitments. We have also resolved to champion for a favorable division of revenue regime that provides a formula that greatly benefits the people that we represent. The people we represent expect us to pay ahead better prices for their tea and coffee. We are behind schedule in the enactment of legislative reforms critical to the revitalization of key economic sectors relevant to our constituents. They also have a number of road and water electricity projects which have stalled several years ago that require priority funding for completion. It is our firm belief that with focus and unity of purpose, it is possible to put our energies together and realize great outcomes for the people we represent during the remaining 3 years. We commit to redouble our efforts to ensure that the priority projects marked for our region and for our people in the diaspora that are in the Kenya Kwanza plan are implemented. We further commit to accelerate the passing on of key legislative reforms that are critical to the improvement of the main economic sectors relevant to our constituents and prioritization of budgetary allocations to stalled and priority developments projects in the region and the diaspora. On this basis, we meet here today to reinstate our commitment to the unity and development agenda of all the people of Mount Kenya region and diaspora, even as we advance the collective of Kenya as a nation. Accordingly, we are convinced beyond doubt that the unity of this region must be pursued in the context of the unity of the nation as a whole. We are one indivisible people of Kenya and must always put our country first. Kenya Kwanza.